So you finally know how to play the Pokemon trading card game, or maybe you already knew, but you came back after a break and you're like, I don't know what cards I need. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about the cards that you absolutely should get, or at the very least, know about. Hey everybody, Nick from 9Card TCG, and today we are continuing our How to Play the Pokemon Trading Card Game in 2022 series. Today we are talking about what cards do you need and where can you get them. So let's focus on the cards first, and then we'll talk about some really good products to get. Do keep in mind that all the information, or at least a lot of it, is in the video description, so you can hop to specific segments. If you're like, I already know what cards I want, I just don't know the best products to buy, you can go and skip to that timestamp so you can get that information specifically. But I do encourage you to check out the whole video. If you haven't already, hitting the subscribe button, bell notification, and leaving a like and comment are all super helpful things. It also really helps that if you share this video with friends or family who also might be interested in playing the Pokemon trading card game, because it helps this channel grow, and that's what I'm trying to do, trying to grow this channel and get as many people into the game as humanly possible. So with all that, let's hop over to the Pokemon trading card game online app, PTCGO, so we can look at some really good cards. So here we are on PTCGO, and what we're going to do is we are going to look at the single prize Pokemon and then hop over to the two prize Pokemon. No real reason for that, I just think handling them in that order might be a little better. Do keep in mind that just because a card appears on this list does not necessarily mean it will go in every deck, or should go even in your deck. Your deck is going to be your deck, and while you could probably find a list for whatever you want to play online, ultimately you have to play the cards you like. So we'll keep that deck building mindset for another video, but for now, let's talk about some of these popular cards and what they do. Cincino is the first one up on our list, and it has the Make Do ability, which lets us discard a card from our hand to draw two. Anytime you get to draw cards is likely a good thing, because the more cards you have in hand, the more likely you are to be able to make, a combo happen or a particular play happen. So being able to discard one and draw two, really, really good. It also puts certain cards in the discard pile. There's going to be cards that you want to have in the discard pile because they are activated from the effect of something else. We'll talk about that in a little. Sometimes Make Do is called Trade, so the name is a little different, but the effect is basically the same. The next up is Flaffy, and it has the Dynamotor ability, which once during your turn, you may attach a lightning energy from your discard pile to one of your benched Pokemon. Do keep in mind it says specifically benched Pokemon, so you would not be able to use Dynamotor to the active Pokemon. It has to be on the bench. It also says that you need a lightning energy in the discard pile. So now, with something like Cincino, for example, you discard a lightning energy to draw two, and then you have Flaffy's ability to get that lightning energy from the discard into or onto one of your bench Pokemon. This is a very common type of combo. Not necessarily with Cincino and Flaffy, but with other things. Quick Ball, you discard a card, and we'll talk about it. Discard a card from your hand, you can discard a lightning energy, then to use Flaffy's Dynamotor ability, something you see pretty commonly. Zigzagoon, when you play this card from your hand to the bench, you get to put 10 damage or 1 damage counter onto your opponent's Pokemon. You get to pick one Pokemon, deal 10 damage to it. Now notice it says that when you play this card from your hand to the bench, which means if it automatically goes from the deck to the bench, you do not get to use this ability. Also, if the card is already on the bench in the active spot when you start the game, then you don't get to use the ability because it's never going from your hand to the bench. So pay very close attention to what the card says in order to activate the effects. The last single prize Pokemon we're going to talk about is an entire evolution line, because they are really popular and really good. Sabo here is a basic Pokemon, right? Basic Pokemon, and it has the Rapid Strike mark. This is really important because, again, like we saw in the previous video with single strike Pokemon, Rapid Strike Pokemon tend to go together. Sometimes in the case of Sabo, they don't, but if you have a bunch of Rapid Strike Sabos in your deck, remember you can only have up to 4 copies of a single card in your deck. So you can have 4 Rapid Strike Sabos in your deck, Well, we have the Keep Calling attack, which lets you search your deck for up to 3 basic Rapid Strike Pokemon. That's more Sobbles. That's Rapid Strike Urshifu V. That's Sylveon V. There's a bunch of basic Rapid Strike Pokemon that you could get with Sobbles. So using something like Keep Calling at the beginning of the game can help you set up other Sobbles, it can help you set up other attackers, and it's a really good card. Sobble evolves into Drizzile, and this Drizzile has the Shady Dealings ability, which when you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you now get to search your deck for any trainer card you want. And I know that doesn't sound super good, like why do I care so much about getting one single trainer card? Well, being able to cherry pick the exact card you need when you need it is super powerful. So don't think that searching for a single trainer card isn't worth it. It absolutely is. We don't really care about the attack, but we do care about this 90 HP. That's the other thing that makes this really good, because it's going to be easy to search out with other cards that we'll talk about on this list. Now, if you notice, Drizzile's line, it has 2 arrows because there are multiple Inteleons. And this is common as cards get printed. Sometimes the same Pokemon appears in different sets. So we have this Inteleon with the wings symbol. This is from base Sword and Shield, and it has the Shady Dealings ability as well. When you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you get to search your deck for 2 trainers. Incredibly powerful. But we also have the Inteleon from Chilling Reign, this crown symbol, and it has the quick shooting ability, which lets you put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. Now, do keep in mind that the wording here is very specific. It says once during your turn. You'll see 2 different wordings really commonly. You'll see once during your turn or once per turn. If the card says once per turn, then it doesn't matter how many Pokemon you have on the field with the same ability, you can only use it once per turn. However, if it says once during your turn, then you can use that ability 1 time during your turn for each Pokemon with the same ability in play. So if I have 3 quick shooting Inteleons on the field, I can use quick shooting 3 times, which is what often happens. People usually have 2, sometimes maybe even 3 quick shooting Inteleons on the bench, and they are just constantly putting damage on your opponent's Pokemon. It's super irritating. Moving on to the 2 prize Pokemon, we'll start with Crobat V, and it has the Dark Asset ability. When you play this card from your hand to the bench, you may draw until you have up to 6 cards in your hand. Now, again, pay attention to the wording. When this card goes from your hand to the bench, if you play a card that gets a Pokemon from your deck and puts it directly onto your bench, then this doesn't work. The ability specifically says it has to go from your hand to the bench. And then you get to draw until you have 6 cards in your hand. Now, the Crobat does not count as one of those cards because when it hits the field, that's when the effect happens, and when it hits the field, it's no longer in your hand. So if you have 4 cards in your hand, including Crobat, when you play it onto the field, the effect triggers. Now you only have 3 cards in hand, so you would draw 3 more. I know it sounds a little confusing, but do it once or twice and you'll get it, I promise. Super easy and super, super good. Why is it really good? Because it's a basic Pokemon, and basic Pokemon are usually pretty easy to search out. Eldegoss is another fairly popular, less so, but still worth mentioning, basic Pokemon, and it has the Happy Match ability, which lets you, when you play this card from your hand to the bench, take a supporter card from your discard and then put it into your hand. So this is really good for getting back things that you've already used or had to maybe discard earlier in the game. Now you get to get it from your discard, putting it into your hand for use that or maybe a later turn. So something to keep in mind, and it's pretty good. You don't see it played too much, but maybe in the upcoming sets it might see a little bit more play. Kricketune V has the Exciting Stage ability. Once during your turn, you may draw until you have 3 cards in your hand. If this Pokemon is in your active, you may draw until you have 4. We can obviously talk about way more Pokemon, but sometimes they're really specific to a particular deck, even though that deck might be really popular. An example of that is like Genesect V or Houndoom. They're really popular cards, but they really are only used in like 1 or 2 decks each, and not necessarily a staple card, if you will. Moving on to the trainers, and the trainers, just like the Pokemon, there are 1,000 of them. We could be talking about a bunch, but I really just want to limit this to the ones you're really going to see all the time, or the ones that could fit many different decks. And we're going to start off with Crushing Hammer. Really annoying card, flip a coin. If heads, choose one of your opponent's energy and discard it. It's really annoying, but disruption is a thing. Escape rope. Each player switches their active Pokemon with one of their bench Pokemon, but your opponent chooses first. So now you get to see what they put into the active, and you can make a decision based on that. You usually have an idea of what you want to put into the active anyway, regardless of what they put, but sometimes what they put will influence your decision. But it's a really good card for mobility and also to disrupt your opponent, maybe put a Pokemon into the active that they didn't want into the active, can't get out of the active, something like that. Evolution Incense, huge card. Search your deck for any evolution Pokemon you want, put it into your hand. This is going to get you your Drizziles, your Inteleons, your Flaffies maybe, whatever evolution Pokemon you have in your deck, Evolution Incense can find. Great Ball is interesting. It lets you look at the top 7 cards of your deck and grab any Pokemon you want from there and put it into your hand. Now, the problem with Great Ball is that you're only looking at the top 7 cards, so you might not find the Pokemon you're looking for if you find a Pokemon at all. So it can be hit or miss, but it's a good way to just shuffle the deck up a little bit if you need to. Level Ball is fantastic because it lets you search for any Pokemon that has 90 HP or less. And hey, remember that Drizzile that has 90 HP? Well, now you have Level Ball and Evolution Incense to find those Drizziles, and you can get any trainer you want when you use that Shady Dealings ability. It also helps find things like Sobbles and Flaffies and Mareeps and just a lot of those single prize support Pokemon. So Level Ball, really, really good. Quick Ball is probably one of the most common cards you're going to see on this list. Discard a card from your hand to search your deck for any basic Pokemon you want. This includes Crickettoons and Crobat Vs. This includes Sobbles. This includes Houndowers and Urshifu, whatever basic Pokemon your heart desires, and that's also in your deck, you can get with Quick Ball. Rare Candy is very specific, but I figured I should mention anyway because sometimes people like to play Stage 2 decks, but you have a basic Pokemon. When you play it the first turn, you can't evolve it. You have to wait one full turn to evolve it to the Stage 1. Then you have to wait another full turn to evolve it into the Stage 2. Rare Candy lets you skip the Stage 1 phase. You can't use it the first turn you play your Pokemon or the first turn of the game, but let's say you go first, you throw down a Sobble, for example, and then you pass your turn. On your next turn, if you have a Rare Candy and an Inteleon, well, now you can skip the Drizzile entirely and go straight to Inteleon. You usually don't want to do that because you want to use Drizzile's Shady Dealings ability to find trainers, but this applies for any Pokemon that has a Stage 2. You could theoretically do that. Scoop Up Net is really, really common, especially in decks that run the Drizzile and Inteleon line, because you can pull that Pokemon off the bench or out of the active spot and then play it down again. So it's really, really good for either moving Pokemon out of the active or reusing abilities over the course of a game. This only works on single prize Pokemon. You can't do it with a Pokemon V or a Pokemon GX. Basically anything with a rule box can't be used with Scoop Up Net. Switch is another really common card. You basically get to move a Pokemon from your bench to the active spot. Really, really good for dealing with status conditions, getting an attacker out onto the active, maybe retreating a damaged Pokemon. So any reason you need to move a Pokemon out of the active, Switch is a great way to do it. Tool Scrapper. We talked previously about Pokemon can have tools attached to them, and if your opponent has 6 Pokemon in play, well, theoretically they can have 6 tools, one attached to each of them. Tool Scrapper lets you choose any 2 tools you want and discard them. This does include your own tools if for some reason you have to. Path to the Peak, we mentioned already, is a stadium that stops abilities from Pokemon that have rule boxes. Boss's Orders lets you decide which Pokemon on your opponent's bench moves into the active spot. This is really good for trapping Pokemon in the active, knocking out damaged Pokemon, or knocking out Pokemon that have energy attached to them to kind of slow down your opponent's progression. Marnie is one of the more annoying cards in the game, and it might not sound like it, but the number of times where I've played a game, it's like, man, as long as my opponent don't Marnies me, I'm going to be in a really good spot, or if they don't, as long as they don't Marnie me, I'm going to win, and then you get Marnied. So what does Marnie do? Each player shuffles their hand and puts it to the bottom of the deck. The person who played the card, if either player put cards at the bottom of their deck, the person who played it draws 5, the opponent always draws 4. So if Neither of us have any cards in our hand, and I play Marnie. That's the only time we'll both draw 4. Otherwise, the person who plays it draws 5, and the opponent draws 4. Professor's research, discard your hand, draw 7 cards. It might sound weird. This is the best draw supporter in the entire game. But if you have to discard your hand, that's a bad thing, right? Sometimes, that's why we run multiple copies of cards. That's why we run things that let you get cards back from the discard pile, like, say, Flaffy with the Dynamotor. You have energies in there. Don't worry about them being in the discard. You're going to be able to use Dynamotor to get them back onto the field anyway. But being able to see a fresh set of 7 cards is really, really good. Raihan, you can only play this card if a Pokemon was knocked out during your opponent's last turn. But if you do get to play it, then you get to take an energy card from your discard and attach it to one of your Pokemon, and then search your deck for any card you want. This is great for accelerating energies and setting up attackers out of nowhere. It's a really good kind of like, maybe not comeback card, but it's a really good way of rushing your board state with energy and Pokemon or like an item that you need. So really good card. Air Balloon is one of those pesky tools we mentioned that we can get rid of with Tool Scrapper, and it reduces your Pokemon's retreat cost by 2. So, for example, you have a Pokemon that has a retreat cost of exactly 2, which means you would have to discard 2 energies attached to it to retreat it from the active onto the bench. Air Balloon reduces the retreat cost by 2. So even if that Pokemon has no energies attached, your retreat cost is 0. 2 minus 2 is 0, so you don't have to have any energies attached, and you get to retreat for free. Do keep in mind that retreating like that manual retreat, you can only do once per turn. So if you use Air Balloon to bring up another Pokemon, you cannot discard energies or retreat with another Air Balloon. You can only do that kind of retreat once. Tool Jammer is another tool that stops other tools from working. So if your opponent's Pokemon that's in the active spot has any tools attached to it, they no longer work while Tool Jammer is in the active spot. So your opponent has an Air Balloon attached to their active Pokemon. Well, if your active Pokemon has Tool Jammer, then Air Balloon stops working. It basically cancels out the effects of tools from your opponent's active Pokemon. The last card we're going to talk about that's available right now anyway, there's going to be a couple we mentioned that are coming out very, very soon, is Capture Energy. When you play this card from your hand and attach it to one of your Pokemon, search your deck for a basic Pokemon and put it directly onto the bench. Now, again, Crobat V, you can't use Capture Energy to get a Crobat V, put it onto the bench, and then use the Dark Asset ability, because Dark Asset says from the hand to the bench. And I'm making this super clear. I'm really trying to beat this into you because it's very important that you don't make that mistake. There are a bunch of other special energies like Fusion Energy and Single Strike Energy, Rapid Strike Energy, but we'll talk a little bit more about those as we talk about really popular decks. So I keep mentioning that there's going to be cards coming out really soon and that we should talk about them. Brilliant Stars is the next set in the Pokemon trading card game, and it officially releases on February 25th, 2022. It releases February 25th, 2022. However, there are pre-releases that happen about 2 weeks early. So you're going to start to see Brilliant Star cards maybe in person. They might go up for sale on eBay or TCG Play or something like that. Those cards are from pre-release kits. We'll talk about those later. But basically, you're going to start to see these cards, and so we gotta talk about them. The first one is Arceus V-Star. It has a V-Star power that is absolutely incredible. Once during your turn, you can search your deck for any 2 cards you want. Any 2. Your turn doesn't end. You just can't use that ability again for the rest of the turn, or really any V-Star power for the rest of the game. So really super powerful. It also has a really good attack that lets you search your deck for basic energies and attach them to your Pokemon V however you want. And that's really good for helping meet awkward or high energy attack costs. Maybe like some Pokemon have dual type attacks, like you need metal and fighting, for example. Not exactly the easiest to do without something like Arceus. Another one is Choice Bell. Choice Bell is a tool that when it's attached to your Pokemon, you do 30 more damage to your opponent's active V Pokemon. Now, V Pokemon include Pokemon V, V-Star, V-Union, and V-Max. So anything that has V in the name is going to get hit for 30 more damage. This is really, really good because it's going to help fix some Pokemon's math, maybe things that are just shy of getting knockouts now will. Double Turbo Energy is a special energy card that provides 2 colorless energies for just the 1 card. However, your attacks do 20 less damage. It's going to be offset by something like Choice Belt. Now your attacks do 10 more damage with Choice Belt and Double Turbo Energy, but it's a really good way for cards to accelerate and get to attacking faster. You can also attach a Double Turbo Energy to a Pokemon with a retreat cost of 2 and then manually retreat it for just 1 energy attachment instead of 2. Lumineon V is a Pokemon that has an amazing ability. It has the Luminous Sign ability. When you play this card from your hand to the bench, then you get to search your deck for any supporter you want and put it into your hand. This is similar to Crobat V, where Lumineon V has an ability that you use when you play it from your hand to the bench. In this case, you're searching for a supporter. So this lets you search for that boss's orders you need to bring up a Pokemon from your opponent's bench into the active and take the knockout for the game. It lets you search for Professor's Research because you have a dead hand. You have no good cards in your hand and you need to see some more cards. Well, now you can find that Professor's Research and get fresh cards. It's a really good card and you're going to see it a ton. Manaphy is a basic Pokemon. It also has 70 health, which means you can search it with Quick Ball or Level Ball. And it has the Wave Veil ability, which when it's on the field, you don't take any damage to your benched Pokemon from your opponent's attack. So something like Rapistrike Urshifu V Max that can hit benched Pokemon no longer will deal damage to those benched Pokemon because Manaphy's Wave Veil ability prevents all damage to your benched Pokemon. It doesn't stop damage to the active Pokemon, but hey, if you could, then you wouldn't. I mean, there'd be no way to win, right? And the last card we're going to talk about is a reprint card, meaning it was previously printed and, valid for standard format, but no longer was, and it's coming back. It's called Ultra Ball. Discard 2 cards from your hand and search your deck for any Pokemon you want. Super good card, and it's going to be everywhere when it comes back out. So what are the best products for getting all of these staple cards, or as many as you possibly can? The answer is really 2 ways. You could buy what's called a Trainer's Toolkit, and it's about $20 to $30 depending on where you buy it from, and it has a ton of staple cards, some packs in there, and it's a really, really good product. Can't recommend it enough. And you also have what are called League Battle decks, and those are specific decks. They're 60 card decks, but they have a lot of these really common supporters like Marnie and Professor's Research, Boss's Orders, and a lot of other cards, and they're pretty good decks. They're easily upgraded to more competitive decks, but it gives you an idea for how to play the game and starts you off with a fairly somewhat competitive deck for $20 and $25. So those are the best places to go. If you have cards already and need to upgrade to the newest stuff, Trainer's Toolkit might be for you. If you are brand new and you have nothing, then a League Battle deck is probably what I'd recommend, but I'd also suggest getting a Trainer's Toolkit anyway. These decks will not have everything we talked about, and it's definitely not going to have the stuff from Brilliant Stars, but you can get those. TCG player and is probably your best bet for buying singles, and then you just buy those singles to complete or finish a deck or get specific cards that you're looking for. It's usually not economical. It's not advised to buy a box of cards and try to pull stuff, because something like Marnie or Professor's Research are both rares, and you get a bunch of packs in a booster box, sure, but you're gonna spend $140, $120 to maybe get a couple of rare cards when you can buy them on TCG Player for like $4 or $5. So yeah, you'll get a bunch of other cards too, but specifically for getting singles, it's not worth opening a box unless you already have a huge collection and you're just trying to get the newest stuff. That's the only time I'd recommend it, and even then, buying singles is generally cheaper. But that is going to do it for us today. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you found this informative. Now you will know how to play the game and what some of the most common core of the deck. A lot of these cards are going to make up 20 to 35 cards in a particular deck, and then the rest are going to be energies and Pokemon to finish off the deck. So, in the next video, when we talk about what decks are really popular, and we'll talk a little bit about how much it costs to build those decks from, starting with nothing, that's when we can, get a little bit more specific. But for now, these are like your core. This is your backbone. So that's going to do it for us today. Thanks so much, and I will see you next time.